Hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. If you do like the programming you see here and the musicians and artists I visit with, please be sure and hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Martin King and David Platten have played together in Manchester indie band, the Desert Wolves, as well as the Vermont Sugar House. The lineup in the Desert Wolves included Martin, guitar vocals, David, rhythm guitar, Nick Platten, lead guitar, Richard Jones, bass and trumpet, and Craig Wolf, aka Winterburn, on drums. The band would release a couple of singles during the late 80s and appear on various artist compilations. Two compilations came out decades later in the new millennium. Post Desert Wolves, Martin, David, and Richard would form the Vermont Sugar House. The unit has released a couple of singles along with the album Carlton Gardens in 2008. Tracks have also appeared on several various artist compilations. Well, welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, who wants to go first?
Martin, I think he's
on the
just
early
curator
childhood.
of the band.
Okay, Martin, we'll take us back. Were you born in Manchester?
No, I was born in York.
Okay.
So I'm from Yorkshire originally.
Okay. And what's the distance between the two cities? How far?
Oh, not long. About an hour and a half in the car.
Okay, all right.
Nearby. I've been in Manchester since 1978, so I'm a kind of naturalised Mancunian now.
Mancunian, yeah. Well, do you recall your early childhood growing up as far as was there music in the household?
Yeah, my parents didn't play music, but they were very much kind of interested in music. So there was a lot of, they had a great collection of 78s when I was very small, and they lived in York, and there was a place in York called the Rialto where a man called, now I can't remember his first name, but Prendergast, but I can't remember his first name. He used to bring artists over from the States, so they'd seen people like Nat King Cole, Frank Sinatra, which they were very keen on. And my uncle used to tell me a story about my mum standing up and screaming at Johnny Ray when he came on at the Rialto. And Prendergast's son, John Prendergast, my dad was, before he met my mum, he was engaged to a woman, and her best friend was going out with John Prendergast, and he later changed his name to John Barry, the composer.
Yeah.
And so he had like a jazz band in York in the late 50s so he was kind of hanging around the York jazz scene with these people for a bit, and then he formed the John Barry Seven and then disappeared to London. So they were keen on music, and they kind of particularly once the Beatles. I mean, I was interested in music before that, really. So I was a massive fan of Telstar by the Tornadoes, is still one of my favourite records. And I was kind of into music from a very early age. And then once the Beatles came around, my dad used to buy me the singles. And
I love all that Joe Meek production on.
He was way ahead of his time.
Yes,
just a fantastic.
He was like your version of Phil Spector. We had Phil
Spector. Yeah. Some very, very strange records, but also some absolutely brilliant ones. He invented compression, basically, I think. And then we used to, they bought me Beatles records and all that sort of thing, and we had to get a new stereo that played, stereo had just come out then, I think, and something that played 45s and not just 78.
Right.
So yeah, and they were into all that stuff. My mum was later on big fan of the Carpenters and Glenn Campbell and all that kind of American stuff.
Yeah.
Walker Brothers. She was a big fan of the Walker Brothers later on.
Walker Brothers. I just found out.
There was always music, I suppose, even though they didn't play.
Yeah, I just found out talking to a guy recently. I didn't realize Glenn Campbell and Alice Cooper were buddies, were friends. I didn't realize that. That seems like a strange pair, right?
Yeah. Well, he's an interesting character because he was in the Wrecking Crew originally, wasn't he?
Yes.
He played on a lot of the early Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Well, and then was a touring Beach Boy when Brian was has his episode.
Yes, he was.
He had a kind of interesting history.
Yeah.
Some great people as well.
Do you recall one of the first singles or albums that you got yourself?
The first single that I had, yeah, I didn't buy myself, but it was "She Loves You" by the Beatles, and then followed by "Beatles for Sale" was the first album that I was bought, and I'm still very keen on that, the Beatles album, I have to say.
All right, and then how
But I'm
about
still very keen on the Beatles. And I've written a book about the Beatles called Men, Masculinity and the Beatles, which is based on my PhD.
Is
So,
that right? Okay.
yes, available from good booksellers, but don't buy from Amazon because they don't pay the tax.
Go ahead and do the plug. Yeah. Right. Well, what was the first instrument you learned to play?
I had a guitar when I was a teenager, really, but I didn't really get on with it. I didn't make a lot of effort with it at that point. And then when punk came along, I bought a bass because I thought I could play the bass like Dee Dee Ramone, probably. But then again, I didn't really. It wasn't until I went to Manchester in the late 70s that I kind of, somebody sold me, my friend Graham, who had a single called Jilted John in the 1970s, if you've ever heard that.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Oh, right. Well, so I met him, and he had this lovely old Hofner President with a Bigsby tremolo arm, which he sold me for £100. And I was kind of inspired after that to kind of learn to play it. Although the first band I played in, I couldn't really play the guitar at all, but it was like, 1980, and it was all like, very jazzy and
Speaking of that, have you ever heard of this? Chris Rea?
Hofner Blue.
Oh, the Hofner Blue Notes.
Notes, yeah. When you said Hofner, I said,
yeah.
I had this right over here. Yeah, it's real retro. It's they have like 45s in here. It's new a few years ago, but then they have everything. They have old pictures in here, so history of the Hofner and all that. The Hofner Blue Notes. Yeah. Right. Well, how about the first live show that you attended? The live gig or concert that you attended?
The first live gig was Hawkwind. Back in 1972, and it cost me 60 pence.
Wow.
In those days, which
they were cheap.
Half of a quid. It was a good time in those days.
Did they play Silver Machine?
I was one. Yeah, Silver Machine, one of my favorites. Yeah, they. What an eye-opening and ear-opening experience that would have been. Yes.
That was excellent. And then the second band I saw was Wishbone Ash, who I rather.
Oh yes, with the dual guitar, the
twin lead guitars.
Yes.
And they're still. I've seen there's two versions of them now. They had a dispute and fell out and went to court. And so there's two versions, which I've seen both relatively recently.
Have different names.
Well, one's called Wishbone Ash, and the other one, he's not allowed to call it Martin Turner's Wishbone Ash. He has to say Martin Turner, former singer and writer with Wishbone Ash. It was all in the court agreement. It was very bitter.
Oh yeah, a lot of that stuff. It's so silly. A lot of that stuff. Anyway, who has the rights? Okay, well, over to you, David. Where were you born?
I was born South London, a place called Mitcham, but my family moved to Coventry in the middle of the UK when I was 3 years old. So I was raised in Coventry in the Midlands. And I was born in 1962, so I missed most of the 60s from a musical point of view. I suppose I came of age musically bang on punk rock, really. I would have been 13, 14, so I can remember I went on a holiday with some friends when I was about 14, just to somewhere on the west coast of England for a week, and somebody had the Clash first album on a little tape recorder, and it was kind of like an epiphany, just sitting there listening. I thought, I used to like things like Roxy Music and T-Rex and that kind of thing, but
yes.
I thought I haven't heard anything like this before. And then it's difficult to appreciate if you didn't live through that moment, but around that time, 1976, 77, so I'd have been 15, 14, 15, a town like Coventry, which has got a city which has got a reputation for not being a very nice place to go to, but it completely opened up. So there were suddenly all these places to go for, you know, young people, pre-18, under 18 people, all these different, everyone started playing in bands. And then in Coventry, you had the arrival of two-tone music, the Specials, particularly, it was the home. So I can remember going to see the Specials when they were still called the Automatics, you know, when they were starting out. So that whole ska two-tone movement was based in my home city. But I liked lots of music that was coming out at that time. So when I was at school, when I was 15 or 16, midweek, we were going to see all the major punk bands when they toured in Coventry, you know, and so yeah, obviously the main ones like the Clash and the Jam, but you know, Stiff Little Fingers, the Undertones, Buzzcocks, all these groups that were just touring and almost every week, midweek, I'd go with my friend and we'd have to walk home because the gigs were on so late and the public transport had stopped, so we'd walk back to either his house or my house and then go to school the next day, you know, from there. So, and around that time, both myself and my younger brother, Nick, who was in the Desert Wolves, but I started to want to be in a band, even though I had no musical training or ability. Nothing much has changed.
Don't say.
But I had a friend that could just about play the guitar, another friend who got a bass, and we started playing in a kind of garage, literally in a garage band, singing Garage Land by the Clash and songs by
okay, right.
and things
well,
like that.
How old were you when you started
I would have been about 15,
okay.
16. The only thing I could, the only contribution I made was just sing. I've got a pretty poor voice, but there was nobody else, and I couldn't really play an instrument. And then I got myself a very cheap red kind of plastic classic kind of punk type guitar with a fuzz box and tried to learn a few chords. Meanwhile, my younger brother was hypnotized by all this, was entranced when I had my friends around and that, and he did learn the piano when he was younger, and so he got a guitar and started practicing and so pick up. So he was always technically a lot better than me. But we were passionate. We played in a band in Coventry and played a few gigs. We had a girl singer, and I think we made a little record at one point. And but we were passionate collectors like you at the time as well. You know, often spending all our money buying records. You know, that was obviously, when I was young then, that was a great time. And then all through college and university, I went to Liverpool University, but I had friends that were based in Manchester and was kind of involved in music and trying to get something going. There was a version of the Desert Wolves prior to the one that Martin was in, and I was in an early incarnation of that. And I then had to go abroad to France for my degree and live there. So I didn't play then, but there are photographs and we were rehearsing some songs. And I think one or two of the songs that we eventually played in the Desert Wolves that had that made records germinated back then. So trying to always get something going, and then it finally came together with I met Martin 1984. You were over Liverpool, weren't you?
I was in Liverpool. I met you in Liverpool through Ian.
Yeah, a mutual friend.
The first time, and then Ian moved back to Manchester in about 86, I think, and then he knew you and Nick and all that lot and was living with you, I think, at that point.
Yeah.
And then he said, and there'd been what's it on the Desert Wolves Mark 1 had broken up.
Yeah.
And so Ian said to me one day, "Oh, they're looking for a new singer," and I said, "Oh, well, I've been in bands before," which he didn't really know, I don't think.
No.
And I like to audition, so I did.
Yeah. Well, before we carry on, you mentioning the Specials. Terry Hall, one of my favorites for a long time, especially his work with the color field, after that, and then his solo material after that.
Oh, that Home album is just
yes, it's I have that, and then Dave Stewart in Vegas. He was also played with him. So sad his passing. So
absolutely.
That was very, very sad.
And they were one of the few bands before he died that got together again. With the exception of Jerry Dammers. But the rest of them got together again, and they were actually very good in as middle-aged rockers, but they actually performed really well, and it was really well reviewed. And I think a lot of groups that reunite and go on these tours, it's often a little disappointing for various reasons, but the Specials bucked that trend.
Sorry.
Yes. Well, that's all right. I wanted to mention Manchester.
Martin can't operate his phone like most.
Okay.
No.
Let's call 911.
My man from the wine club.
But it was. I mean, I knew them vaguely when I was growing up. I remember playing football with a few of the Specials once in the park in Coventry in one long hot summer. I wouldn't say I knew them very well, but I knew there was a kind of a scene. And
I've played football with the Average White Band.
So that's it really, and then it sort of came together. What it would have been late 86. We started with the
Speaking of 86. Speaking of Manchester, the Chameleons are my favorite band from the 80s. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I just love all their material. Mark Burgess. My only visit to the UK was Manchester 25 years ago, 2000. They played the Witchwood.
You familiar with it?
Yes. Right. The reason we went, me and my brother are really fans, and thought it would be the only chance to ever see the band because they never came to Dallas. I don't think Texas. I mean, the New York and LA. But so it turns out it was the only time I got to see the original lineup. Because John, the drummer, would pass a few years later. But since that time, he's come here multiple times. I've seen him like 4 more times since. But at the time, you're thinking this may be our only chance to ever see him. And anyway, so I just thought I'd mention that.
There's a lot of bands. There's loads of bands around in that period. When I came to one of the reasons that I came to Manchester in 78, I suppose, is I did a journalism course in a town called Darlington, which is in the northeast, and I lived in Darlington for a year, which was, well, I won't be rude to people from Darlington, but it was a bit soul-destroying. And I just wanted to go somewhere that had a bit of life, and the kind of music scene attracted me there, I suppose. But there was just loads and loads of bands, and everyone you knew. It was kind of obligatory. If you're between the age of about 18 and 24, it was obligatory to be in a band at that point, if you're in Manchester. So, and it's putting together some stuff, trying to write a novel about that kind of scene, around that scene, really. And I think because what you get about Manchester is the factory narrative dominates the whole thing.
Factory music.
So, factory records, Tony Wilson, etc. The story of Manchester music is always that, basically. And I'm not saying that wasn't good, but actually there was just loads and loads of people like the Chameleons, who were never massive, basically, but who were very, very popular, and loads of interesting little indie labels like New Hormones and what was the one that the Jilted John and John Cooper Clarke were on?
Oh, John Cooper Clarke.
Rabid Records.
Yes. I don't know if you saw my interviews with Barry Adamson.
No.
He was with Nick Cave and Magazine.
They were one of the most successful kind of bands from that time.
And Steve Diggle. I also talked to Steve. Buzzcocks.
So there were these bands that were kind of more famous, like the Buzzcocks and you know, obviously Joy Division and then New Order and then,
Oh, of course.
but underneath that there was a whole scene and a whole load of like great little venues that have obviously all gone now. Now we have the Co-op Arena and that sort of thing, you know.
Is the boardwalk?
Yeah, the boardwalk is flat.
Oh,
as is the Hacienda.
yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah, no, the boardwalk's flat as well.
Yep.
We used to rehearse under this club that had rehearsal rooms underneath the boardwalk, which was a great little venue for kind of smaller bands. We played there a few times, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, one thing I tell you guys when I talk to you is I'm envious because there were live gig shows just about every night, depending on what area you lived in. And over here, it's rare. It's, you know, we don't have them all the time. So, you know, I'm an Anglophile. I've always loved, you know, music from across the pond. So.
Well, it's interesting, this thing we're going to tonight, which is in quite a small venue, isn't it?
Yeah, don't worry about that. I mean, I don't know. It's a function of age. I don't. Do you still go and see a lot of live music? I'm less so these days.
No, I was supposed to go and see Focus last week.
Oh, Focus, yes.
Due to my dad not being well and all this sort of thing, I missed it, which was a bit annoying. But,
well, I didn't know
it's still T.S. Van Leer and Pierre van der Linden from the original.
I didn't know they were still touring. I didn't.
Yeah, my friend went. He said they were really, really good. So.
Well, go ahead and continue the story, David and Martin.
So we kind of arrived at as the Desert Wolves at about in November 1986, I think. And was our first gig supporting the Stone Roses?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. The first gig we ever played was as a support act to the Stone Roses at the International. And I mean, I don't know how we got that at the time. We never had any manager or anything, did we? Management at all.
We got that because Gareth, who was managing the Stone Roses at that time, was a big fan of the Desert Wolves Mark 1, I think. And so Nick knew him, and that's how we got.
And we had a provisional drummer, didn't we, at the time? We didn't have Craig quite yet.
What did we call?
The judge.
The judge.
We had to go.
We didn't have a drummer. And nobody. It was pre that pre the very famous Stone Roses album. So they weren't that. You know, this has all been airbrushed from history, but a lot of people were quite sniffy about the Roses, weren't they? We liked them
at that time. So what would this have been? Early 87?
87, yeah.
87 sometime.
So we liked Sally Cinnamon and
I can remember
Elephant Stone
standing with him in the audience after we played, watching them, and I think I said something like, hey, "They've got a few tunes, these, you know,
I like
and
them.
They were basically playing the whole of the first album.
Yeah, people were a bit.
But at the time, they only had a hardcore set of fans, about 500 fans that would follow them and go to their gigs. But most of the factory hacienda types thought of them as kind of like pub rock.
Yeah, they had a right wing following as well.
And they had a right wing following.
Which is an airbrush from history.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a fight at that gig when they came on. There was a big fight and they had to go off again.
I'm also wondering whether that is the gig that Liam Gallagher's been talking about in interviews recently, when he said that his first gig that really changed opened his mind to the idea of being a pop star.
Being the Desert Wolves.
He didn't mention the Stone Roses at the International.
Right.
At the time?
It could have been that though. Yeah.
And it was about the right time frame. So we played with them, and it was you didn't really recognize this at the time, but it was a real kind of hotbed of music and bands in Manchester at that particular point. I mean, we rehearsed next door to the Happy Mondays, and then we had a certain ratio, 2 or 3 rooms up the corridor. James were upstairs rehearsing, and there were all these groups there, and most of them went on to be multi-selling, make lots and lots of records, very famous, very well known, sell out stadium kind of gigs.
Not very good though. I never liked James.
But so and then we were linked with the Inspiral Carpets for a while because we recorded.
I had the Tim Booth and the Bad Angel. I had that CD. And,
right.
And very, very different from James,
Yeah.
They're
a bit worthy, I thought. It was a bit Chris Martin for me.
Right.
Right. I think we had an idea of what we wanted to do, didn't we? Which was to try and project a certain image, try and do play in the genre that we liked, which is a kind of that we could do, which is a kind of jangly music, a little bit of a throwback to the 60s. But to try and actually write melodies that were a bit more distinctive than just kind of following the chords or whatever, I think was the idea. And I think over the relatively short time that we were properly in existence, I think we were probably a bit of a Marmite band, would you say? I think there was some people that didn't really like us at all, and then there were some people that really liked us. We didn't have many in between, I wouldn't have thought.
No, we got some interesting reviews. Sarah Champion, who used to write for the Manchester Evening News and stuff like that, described us as puffy guitar boys lost in a Parisian fantasy, which I thought was a fair assessment, actually. Well, you wouldn't be able to say that, would you know? Puffy guitar boys. But I thought, fair enough. And somebody else, Dave Haslam, who you may have heard of.
Yes.
Who self-appointed Mr. Manchester now, writing about stuff. But he described us once as a cross between Haircut 100 and the Barron Knights, which I thought was, I don't know if you know the Barron Knights. They're a comedy novelty.
Right.
I think it was because we were wearing shirts and ties. We'd gone through a phase of wearing like jackets and ties at that point. So, and again, I thought that was a fair assessment. Really.
Yeah. Well,
but we got some good coverage in certainly Mick Middles, who was like the music correspondent for Manchester Evening News. We had Record of the Week twice, didn't we, in Record Mirror.
That was it, because there were four national music magazines at the time in the UK. There's none now, aren't there?
There's none now.
There's none now.
Print.
In print, certainly. Enemy Sounds, Melody Maker, and Record Mirror, and we got Record of the Week for both of our singles in Record Mirror, above people like the Rolling Stones, whoever else was Pet Shop Boys and others, which was quite unusual, and I think that attracted some attention. But one of our issues was that I think we were all of us doing other things at the same time, and I think with pop music, and if you're in a band and that, you've got to be all in, haven't you? Really, to if you're going to be successful, you've got to commit everything to it, financially, time. And that. I mean, I was doing a PhD and thinking of other things at the time. You had a child.
Just a child. And I was working, and then I did masters, and so we were.
So there was only really Richard Jones, the bass player, who was absolutely fixated with the success of it. To a certain extent, we weren't as perhaps as committed as we might have been, and I think that was possibly the reason we didn't kick on from where we were.
Oh, there's several reasons for that, if you want to get into that, but maybe we'll come back to that.
But yeah, so it's
the usual story about why bands don't, you're convinced at some point that.
Well,
there's a rumor that somebody called him, I don't know, Richard used to refer to him as Fatty Charlton, who was like head of CBS or something at the time. And there was this rumor that he'd heard our demo he was listening to our demo on a plane, and we were bound to get signed to CBS within the next 4 weeks or something, so.
I've never heard this story.
First time
he loves it. I mean, Richard could have made it up.
Have you been hiding this?
Because he did like to make things up.
Well, how about some other live shows? Maybe bands that you played in support of or on the same bill?
Who did we support?
We supported the Inspiral Carpets. It was almost a double header, wasn't it? I think.
A Certain Ratio, we supported at the Boardwalk.
Certain Ratio.
Wedding Present, that was
Wedding Present.
At a place called the West Indian Centre in Manchester. That was a really good night, actually.
Yeah. Who else?
We did some I think did we do more than one headline gig? We played at a place called the Green Room in Manchester, which is now called Gorilla. And we
Supported
were
that
kind of
Welsh group
headline
with the female Primitives.
Oh, the
Primitive.
Primitives.
Primitives.
Yeah. And I don't know, did we do some other kind of
Played in Glasgow. Who did we support at Strathclyde? Played at Kingston.
played with the Wolfhounds.
Kingston Poly in London, didn't we? West London.
We didn't play enough. That was
Um,
part of the problem. If we're getting onto, you know,
Well,
why we weren't signed to CBS.
Yeah.
We didn't rehearse enough, and we didn't check around because of the things that Dave was saying. Really, I think we weren't committed as we should be, or as much as you have to be, you know. And I mean, this is what anyone will tell you, really. The people that have made it big.
Well, I wanted to show you the first time that I heard of you guys was from this compilation.
Ah, The Sound of Leamington Spa.
Yes, volume 1.
Yeah.
On here. And of course, the song is Mexico. Is the track on here. And there were some nice, some really good, jangly guitar bands on here, Pooh Sticks are on here.
Yeah.
The Hepburn, Sidleys, which I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Cherry Orchard. Wishing Stones.
Yeah. And they've all got a similar. I remember playing when that came out. Took it round to some friend's house. We were having drinks, and I started playing it. And then I was saying, "Oh, this is so and so," and he was saying, "Oh God, I thought it was all you." Thought it was all your band. They all kind of have that similar kind of jangly sound.
Later on, I picked up a copy of the compilation Pontification. So I just want to mention a few tracks of my favorites on there, and I think you already know. And get your backstory or inspiration, history behind the songs.
Okay.
Of course, Mexico.
Cool.
What do you have to say about?
It's on
Mexico is the song that I kind of brought. I played that in a previous band or a version of it. I was in this band before the Desert Wars. I was in a band called B-Vamp, which we can come back to originally, which is the one where I couldn't really play the guitar, but they thought I had good clothes and good hair, so I was in on that thing. And we can come back to that if you like. But I then had this band called the Harbour Bar, which there's a track on The Sound of Leamington Spa Volume 2, which is just a demo that we did. And that was a kind of short-lived thing. It was it's a bit of an easy listening thing before the easy listening revival came back. And I played it, actually, when I was sorting out the stuff to put on Spotify, I kind of cleaned up and downloaded a load of stuff, and I sent it to my daughter, who'd never heard it. And she came back and she said, "Oh, that sounds like Burt Bacharach." So I thought, there you are then. But anyway, Mexico was a song that I'd done with this other band, including a version of the trumpet stuff, I think, because we had a trumpet player and what have you in that. But it had a different chorus, and we wrote the chorus, which I think is much better. I think it was called Love Triangle or something originally. But anyway, so I kind of brought that with me, and then we liked it, and then we worked up the trumpet thing, and then we did that kind of orange juicy guitar over it.
Yeah. Real quickly, I was reminded when you said trumpet, Brilliant Corners, the band.
Yeah.
Another one
to play with them. We went to see them once.
Okay.
And that other one. The trumpet band.
Pale Fountains, no.
Pale Fountains.
Yeah, I love the Pale Fountains.
They had a trumpet in one or two of them.
Yeah, them great.
Yes, they did.
Oh, it'll come back to me.
It'll come all right.
There was another band that used trumpet quite a lot.
Yes.
It wasn't.
Well, speaking of Mick from Pale Fountains, heavily influenced by Burt Bacharach. Yes. Yes. Well,
I had some good little songs.
Nice songs. I think they had a second coming, didn't they, in Japan?
Yeah.
Was it in Japan that they're quite big? Pale Fountains?
Yeah.
I might be wrong. It might have been the Lotus Eaters. I get them muddled up.
Oh, there's another one you just hit on.
Yeah, it might have been the Lotus Eaters that were big in Japan. Not big in Japan.
Not big in Japan.
Not the band. Not the band.
No. There's a band. Big in
Right.
Japan.
Well, how about Love Scattered Lives is another one I like.
So that the idea there was that it's sort of a bit more of a faster Motown kind of beats and the bass, and we wrote that. I suppose I did the chords, didn't I? I put the chords together.
Dave tended to write most of the tunes, I would say, and then Nick would kind of
Nick put the
contribute and
put the riff at the start,
put the guitar parts on and stuff. Love Scattered Lives is the only lyric that you wrote.
Unfortunately,
mostly,
yeah.
I did the middle eight, but
it worked well. It was eventually it was released as the first single, and I remember that we knew that we were going to record a single, didn't we? But we'd written it quite close to the point at which, so we weren't intending to use it because it didn't exist, and then we brought it to the group with a week or so to go before we were supposed to record, and I was quite keen because I thought it had a fuller sound and stronger kind of bass and rhythm, and I was worried that if we did a single, we might think it was great, but it might get lost in that kind of jangly. A lot of groups were producing a similar sort of tracks, so I thought it would be strong from that point of view, and it remains my own kids. It's the only thing that we did that they really like at all.
The only thing.
The only thing.
Is that right?
Well, they were just doing hip hop and all this other stuff.
Well,
my eldest son is really into his music, but very, very much techno and dance music. But he likes that.
Yeah, well, David, my youngest daughter and her friends, I mean, she's 30 now, but this is a few years ago when they're at university and leave. And they used to watch there's a video that we made for £20 on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they used to sit around stoned watching the video, and they think they said that Love Scattered Lives is a banger.
Yeah,
very, very keen on
it.
It.
They like that.
I think it's the guitar part.
Oh, I think that's what attracted me.
It's got I think the keyboards as well, which we should have used more really.
Yeah.
And it was produced by Mark Radcliffe,
who also played the keyboard.
And he's kind of a radio DJ person.
National.
Well, let's go with Desolation Sunday Morning.
Oh,
one of Martin's.
Yeah, I do like that one. Okay. That's the song that again another one that I had, but I think I'd just written that. I've not played that with anybody else, I don't think. And it's just quite don't know, just a miserable little song. It's about living with my first wife, I think, and was written probably just at the point when I'd left her. So 7 rooms made me a prisoner through a dark and bitter winter. That's what that's about. Yeah. I don't think she'll see this because she is bitter. She was very bitter. In fact, when we played a gig, when we played at the Green Room,
she attacked you, didn't she?
She did, yeah. She came to insisted on coming to see us. Right, this is about 2 years after we split up or something, and she insisted on coming and brought her boyfriend to see us play at the Green Room. Wow. And then after we'd gone off and before we came on for an encore, she came running in backstage and punched me in the ear, which was very rock and roll. Anyway.
It was the nearest we ever got to being very rock and roll, Martin.
Right.
And we hadn't even played that song.
Apart from Craig, our drummer, who was very rock and roll.
Craig was very rock and roll. Did you get in touch with us through Craig, did you say?
Yes, I did.
So how did you contact Craig?
Well, Craig was just through Facebook.
Ah, yeah. Right, okay.
Yeah. And so he hooked me up with you. So, we just couldn't seem to get anything scheduled. We tried there for a little bit.
Which is good. So anyway, that's what that's. And it's a bit Smithsy, I think, and it's
I
in
hear
its
that.
field. And then we recorded it because I think we were looking for, we put it as a third track on the Love Scattered Lives 12-inch. We were looking for a third thing to put on that. So we just went in and recorded that
Yes, yes.
amusingly, as I remember.
Well,
It took some time to get the trumpet down.
yeah. Well,
Anyway.
I think you know, because I told you, "Passion in the Afternoon" is my favorite track. Great guitar, especially towards the end of the song. It's just, you know, I love that guitar in that.
So that was definitely me and you, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
And the
And
chord structures were originally from Gladys Knight and the no, Berta Flack, "Killing Me Softly," I think.
how was it?
Yeah, yeah. I got the chord structures from, I think it was that.
Really? I'll have to go back and listen to that.
Well, it was when it's just like the anatomy of the song, I suppose. When we were first trying to work it out, I think
Yeah.
it wasn't consciously. I only really discovered it afterwards that it was using the same. It was in the same key and using the same chords. But I think that song does last, doesn't it? It's a good tune, and I think if you look at stuff that's on, we were talking about this earlier, stuff that's on YouTube, that's been put on YouTube, not by us, but other people have put it on. I think "Passion in the Afternoon" and then a late tune that we did called "Skin Deep" are the ones that have got by some distance, the most hits, the most people have listened to them. And there's been no publicity or promotion or anything like that. So yeah, but I think it would have been our third single had we stayed together. It would have been the next one that was out.
Well, had Guy not run out of money.
Had the guy that was doing it not run out of money.
Yeah. Well,
And
the legendary Ugly Man record.
and the guitar is very good, and Nick was good
Yeah.
at sometimes getting those subtle different textures in the guitar. So yeah, it came together quite well.
Yeah, you can
that's
listen to the football version on
The football version is the production is better.
Oh, is it? Okay.
So when did you record that? In September?
yeah,
August?
Yeah, August.
Oh,
This year.
okay.
Yeah.
The El Loco.
The El Locos, yeah.
Look it up and compare it. Compare and contrast. But it's got a nice feel.
Okay.
But anyway,
I will see if I
yeah,
I will see if I
It is
I
that
like
tune, isn't it?
Well, it is that. It's based on that. It is indeed.
Well, we referenced this earlier, and it seems like you may have a few reasons here of why the band called it a day.
You want to start?
What? Number one.
Let's see. Maybe we don't have that much time. No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
maybe we'll try and keep it short.
No.
Well, what I think what Dave said before, which was like a bit of a lack of total commitment. So in that sense, I don't think we rehearsed enough, and so our live performances were variable. There were some really good ones, and
some less good ones.
And I think when you're standing out the front and singing, then having kind of a very solid thing going on behind you is always quite good for your confidence. So I think with that, I don't think this is what Guy Lovelady, who was Ugly Man Records, has written about. If you look, he's done a couple of interesting blog posts about. If you look up Guy Lovelady Desert Wolves, he's written kind of a bit of an explanation about this, about why he thinks we didn't make it. I think, and part of that was that we didn't slog it around enough. We played quite a lot in Manchester, and we did play in other places, but not as much as we should have, and certainly not in London in the way that we probably should have done. And probably the biggest stupid thing that we did was that we were offered. Richard Jones was very friendly with someone, a tour manager at that time, and he went into tour management himself later, called Kathy Bryce, and she was organising a tour for this band called Fairground Attraction, who had a #1 single at the time. And she offered us the support slot on that, but they wanted us to play acoustically, and we were very, very, very sniffy about that, and we're like, oh, well, we're not an acoustic band, we're an electric band, and we're not going to do this.
Even though we could have played acoustic.
We could have played. Well, it's about 2 years before everyone started doing unplugged, and then that became the thing. Also, I hated that record, and I still hate it today.
Oh, I don't like it either. I don't like it.
Perfect. Yeah.
No.
But the thing was, it would have given us exposure across 25 cities of the UK with an audience of 2,000-3,000 plus.
Yeah, and I think there's that thing about us having another commitment and all that, instead of just saying, right, we're going to go for this. We'll play acoustically. I mean, my friends had this kind of experience. There's a band called Carmel. I don't know if you know.
No, I haven't heard of it. No.
Oh right, well, she's a singer in Manchester in the 80s, and they had some hits, single hit. Carmel.
Yes, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
Carmel.
kind of jazzy.
Jazzy. Yeah,
well, I was the first band I was in. I was in this band B-Vamp with Carmel's boyfriend Jim, who ended up going off to play in Carmel. Anyway, they were offered the support tour on the ABC Lexicon of Love tour, which they did. But I remember Jim just getting really frustrated and saying, what they wanted was someone, because they were a 3-piece. They were just bass, drums, and her singing. And they obviously wanted something simple so they could spend hours doing a sound check. So I remember him saying he got really frustrated because they just wanted them on and off and that sort of thing. And it kind of felt a bit like that. At one point, he told them that they should have hired a stand-up comedian for support. But anyway, so we turned that down, which was really, really stupid. And that would, as Dave said, that would have given us...
that pretty much, Richard got so fed up after that, didn't he?
Yeah,
Richard was pushing that, and he was right to do so. And then he left, didn't he?
Richard, he did leave. Richard was right about everything. He was like, but we found him annoying, so we didn't want to listen. The same old story with like every band he's probably interviewed. It's like he knew what we should do. He thought we should rehearse more. We should be more professional. We should do this. We should go on this tour, etc. And of course, he went on to be a very successful tour manager, and he's managing the Pixies now.
Is he? Okay.
He's based in
the US now, yeah. But he did the Spice Girls' first world tour, so his organisational skills came to the fore. And he was a good bass player.
Yeah, well, I think
he got fed up with it after that, and then he left, and we got a bass player.
Okay. Yeah, I think the head of 4AD, what is his name? He's in New Mexico. That's where he lives now. What's the 4AD? I can't think of his name. I can edit this part out too. I'm going to be doing so much. But you know what? Fingers crossed. I think that might have helped. I'm not going to say anything because I'll jinx it. I'm not about to do that. I'm not about to.
And then from my point of view, I got a job here in Leeds, really, as an academic. What in America I think you call tenure track job. And it was the first really proper job I'd ever got, and so I thought I had to take it, really. So that it was as simple as that from my point of view. I think I wouldn't add much to what Martin was saying. I think all those factors. What I don't think we thought would happen is that there's been this strange kind of afterlife, hasn't there? With
strange people who contact you from Texas.
Not just from Texas, but people in Germany wanting to put records out, and
I mean the album didn't come out until what 2000 or something, because the people from Fire Station,
like yourself,
are big fans of all that kind of jangly pop, and just got in touch and said,
but also,
what have you got? Can we put it all out as an album?
Audiences in different places, the Philippines, cover, and Valencia, I think we were quite big in Spain.
Valencia.
I got contacted by a guy from the Bay Area of San Francisco about 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I think he was called Joe Pach or Pach, P-A-C-H. And he just said, "Oh, you were the band that we all loved when we were students and growing up, and I still play in a band." And he was kind of insinuating, if you want to kind of come over and get the band together, we could do something. And he was implying that he would be able to possibly, facilitate that in some way with money or whatever. And then more recently, on those back of those big CDs, the Manchester CDs, that were included in, talk of if you can get together, you could play a festival or something like that. So there's been all this interest, partly through changes in technology, obviously, but in the years since.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, probably a couple of years ago now. There's this label called Optic Nerve Records.
Oh yes, I've heard of that label.
North, and they tend to they do these like 7-inch singles, release about 10 at a time, and again they're a mixture of kind of obscure and people you've kind of heard of more, but they got in touch and wanted to do Love Scattered Lives as a 7-inch, so just said yes, and and they put that out as they did a really nice job.
I was played, wasn't it?
Yeah,
played on national radio,
radio, and I found the original artwork in the top of my wardrobe, so there you are. So they were able to use it.
Yeah, there's those indie labels these days are just popping up left and right, like you said, a whole lot of them, and they do release and re-release and remaster.
I mean all that, Tweenet, Fire Station stuff that did Leamington Spa and everything there. There's all that stuff still going on, I think. Sorry.
Right.
But it's quite gratifying when because it's all such a long time ago now, obviously, and it's quite gratifying when you suddenly have a message from someone out of the blue saying, "Oh, are you the guy that was in the dead? We really like the music." And I was first a young lecturer at Leeds. There were some students from a little town called Macclesfield, which is in Derbyshire, south of where we are. And we had a little clique of people from there that used to come to our gigs.
That bloke that just got in touch recently from Wigan.
Yeah, he was one of the ones. Yeah, and I remember I was kind of recognised as a lecturer going into my building by a student that was coming in saying, "Oh, I think I had a poster of your group on my bedroom wall," which is sort of a very odd thing to me. That was a long time ago now as well. So it's quite gratifying to feel that, because at the time when you're playing, and if you've not had the best gig, you're thinking, "Oh, I'm not sure about this. I didn't go down." And then,
if you don't get signed to CBS,
or you don't get signed to CBS,
or
you don't get a publishing contract, you think, "Oh well, I think we were probably a bit put off by that. Really, we didn't really." It's all about persistence, determination, and also thinking that you're absolutely brilliant. I think Martin's always thought we're absolutely brilliant. I sometimes think we were really good, and sometimes I'm not so sure, but I think you need to have that belief really in what you do. Absolute belief in how good you are. And you see that with people who have been successful.
Right. Like you said, with the advent of the internet, people are rediscovering or discovering for the first time this music. A lot of younger people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but another label that I collect a lot of music from, and it's similar, the kind of the guitar oriented, melodic, Sarah Records. Yeah.
All right.
So a lot of I've interviewed a few from that played on that, recorded on that label, and I like that whole attitude. They weren't really signed. It's just you want to record on this label, so it wasn't really. It was kind of a DIY. Yeah. So that's another.
I think what we missed out on is if you do get money, if you either get at the time when we were going, one of the ways to move on would be to get a publishing contract, so you'd sell your songs,
but
you'd have then a fixed amount of money that you could use to record or what have you, quite a lot of money at the time, and not getting that kind of deal or not getting signed it just meant that we couldn't then kind of develop and explore, because I think we probably had a lot more to give. I mean, if we'd have kept the various kind of talents together in the group, it was an interesting mix in the group, and I think we could have done more and made more interesting and slightly more diverse music, and have evolved in a way that that would have been good and interesting, and I think that's probably the real frustration.
So what's it? The track, the Gunmetal Jaguar, which
has got something
that we did it kind of at the end. We did another demo with that and Skin Deep, didn't we? And I don't know. I'm warm to Skin Deep, but I don't really like that very much. It's too wordy. But we were trying to kind of change the sound. But Gunmetal Jaguar was interesting. And also I got to do backwards guitar on it, which is something I'd always
Oh,
wanted to
right.
do.
I like that. Like,
And
well, how
with
long?
the old analog backwards, so you had to turn the tape over and play
Yes.
the tape going backwards and stuff. And when we
Yeah.
did stuff with the Sugar House later
Yeah.
on,
Right.
we
Well,
recorded digitally, of course, and that was
how long
totally
after?
different. Well, I said I want to do backwards guitar, and he said, "Oh, all right, well, just
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
over the track forwards, and then I'll just flip it on by pressing a button." And it's like, oh, it's not the same, is it? It's like,
Yeah. Well, how long after Desert Wolves called it a day that you start up Vermont Sugar House?
Well, that was we never actually played live, did we, as the Vermont Sugar House? That was just a kind of thing that
Mainly
me and
you,
Dave,
wasn't it?
we kind of continued writing, didn't we, really?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
My favorite track from Vermont Sugar House is Braveheart. That's my favorite.
yeah, that's interesting because I tell you what I like about it. It's got a great Mott the Hoople kind of guitar sound.
Okay.
That's what I spent a lot of the time doing with that, was just trying to get these really kind of great guitar sounds. And the drums on that is played by Jerry, who was in Carmel, and the drumming was very, very good. He's a great drummer.
Very good.
So he played on some of the tracks on that. I don't know. It's another one that I kind of warmed to. Well, I don't listen to it much, but I've heard that more recently. I like the Westminster Bridge song is the one that I kind of.
Right.
It's got a bit of a 60s
Yeah.
feel, or it was supposed to have anyway.
Yeah. Well, the B side to the single, absolutely. I like that one as well.
Yeah, that's about leaving my first wife as well.
well?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I must have.
Was
When
it?
I lived in Apple Road, I was churning out these lyrics, I think.
Was
That's
that
got
okay?
a really good Ronnie Wood type guitar solo in it, I think. That's a bit of a Faces type
Oh, okay.
thing. But yeah, Jerry played on that as well, I think. That's got a good big sound, doesn't it?
Well, showing some of your influences there, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, big fan of Rod and the Faces. I won't hear a word against Rod. I know he's become ridiculous as an old man, but his early stuff and his work with the Faces, I think.
Yeah, tell me about it. And the small faces, how they all had to be the certain height, they didn't want any tall members in the band. Small. Short men. Well, was that the version of Braveheart, the single? Is that the same one that was on the album and the Westminster Bridge single, or was it a remake or a different version?
The Braveheart, there's two versions, I think,
Okay,
on the album. Yeah, there's a kind of one with a load of stuff taken out. And,
is there one with a load of keyboards in it?
There's one with more keyboard, yeah, and then there's a kind of big Mott the Hoople guitar version, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Always liked Mott the Hoople as well. Yeah.
He's still going, isn't he?
Big fan.
Yeah. Oh, Ian.
Yeah. They came around about. They reformed about. I don't know. You lose track of time, but it's 10, 15 years ago, and I went to see them in Manchester, and it was the original lineup apart from Dale Griffin, the drummer, who wasn't well at that point, and he's gone now. And I think Overend Watts has gone as well, hasn't he?
Oh, really?
Yes, he did.
Ian Hunter's still going. But they were, like Dave said about the specials, sometimes you go and see a band and you think, I don't want a bit like, but they sounded like Mott the Hoople, obviously, and were very, very good.
He'll be in his 80s now, won't he?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And you mentioned Dale Griffin. Yeah. Doing these interviews, I hear how many times on the Peel sessions, he was the engineer. John Peel.
The first band that I was in, B-Vamp, we did a Peel session, which obviously at that point, pre-internet, that was the holy grail, if you could get a Peel session.
Oh, right.
But that's, B-Vamp's not on Spotify, but there's some stuff on YouTube. And that's it was just crazy kind of improvised. It was all like berets and braces and kind of jazzy kind of stuff. And it's, like I said, I couldn't really play the guitar at that point, but I was trying to do a lot of kind of Gang of Four type noise, basically. But we did a Peel session. He was the engineer, and he was totally bemused by us, basically. He'd been playing these like 4/4, Roll Away the Stone, nice tunes, and it's like, what on earth is this cacophony of noise, But he was very nice. And and it was at Maida Vale Studios, and the engineers were still wearing white coats. It was absolutely
Right,
brilliant.
right. Yes, yes.
And they had
Well,
great sandwiches. That's what I remember about that.
they had good sandwiches.
But yeah, he was quite keen on us. We were referred to as Vaudeville Funksters B-Vamp. He used to,
Right, right.
and he came up to Manchester to do a gig with us once as well. He came
Did
and,
he?
yeah,
That was something back in the day to get his blessing. You know, John Peel,
yeah, he was
like you
good.
said,
It was good.
you know,
And yeah, he
helped
came up.
give a lot of bands their start. Yeah, championed a lot of bands.
Yeah, no, yeah, he did. And that, like, the Peel session was the big thing, you know, because there was,
Yeah.
you
All right.
couldn't post anything yourself.
Yes.
So it was
That's
just
true.
that it was a good way to get heard.
Yeah.
But
I tell this story numerous interviews, but do you know where John got his DJing start? Where he started DJing?
it was in the States, wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
that's it.
Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And he wasn't called John Peel. He was called John. What was his
Ravenscroft.
Ravenscroft?
Ravenscroft.
Because
Yes.
his son is still is Ravenscroft, isn't it? Is he Tom
Yeah.
Ravenscroft? Is
Yes.
a music guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at the time, you know, the Beatles were huge, you know. So he's from Liverpool. So anybody with that accent, Liverpudlian
Yeah.
accent, was
Yeah.
going to be popular over here. So I think that's what
Yeah.
helped him get on
Yeah.
radio. Yeah. So yeah.
That would have been in 1960s.
Yes, early 60s.
Early
Early
60s.
60s,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Yeah. And he went back there, and the rest is history, you know, for him. Well, what
Yeah.
did are any thoughts at all about maybe getting back together or doing something with
Get the band back together.
Vermont Sugar House?
We might do something.
We haven't
We might do
talked
something.
about getting back together to play, have we really? But,
No.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Nick, Dave's brother, who was in the Mark I Desert Wolves, the three of them have got back together.
Yeah.
Well, got back together. They all live on different continents now, but with the modern world, they kind of
Yeah.
record, you know, from a distance. And
Yeah.
they're doing something called Cosmopolis, which is on Twitter, not Twitter, Spotify. It's a bit dirgy for us, isn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of a bit more Radiohead area.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
But they've kind of got back together too. It's the singer and Nick playing guitar and the drummer, Speeding Dave, as he was called.
Yeah.
So they are doing some recording. So we might, well, Dave's packing work in, aren't you, soon? So we might,
Yeah. So when I've packed in next summer, I think I'll want to do some music again. I've got a few things kind of lodged up in my head, and
so we
might do a bit.
whether we'll play live again.
Yeah.
We didn't rehearse in the first place enough, so you know.
Right.
We still know where Craig is, though.
Well, Craig's still alive, so
And Craig's still alive.
so,
Yeah.
so
And we
which
still know Stuart, who was the second bass
and
player.
Stuart, there's the second bass player, yeah. So
Who knows?
we've got people we could work with.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just whether we might rework one or two things that were sort of half made at the
Yeah.
time.
Got some really good unrecorded songs.
We've got some nice
that we like,
unrecorded
haven't we?
stuff, and then maybe write a few
Oh,
ones, and see where we are really.
See where we
Yeah.
go.
Well,
Stop
have you-
making football records.
Right. Right. Have you heard from any labels that were interested in like re-releasing any of your material or releasing for the first time?
Recently,
Not since Optic Nerve
Okay.
came in and did the single. But you never know, like you say, you know, like you just came out of the blue and said, you know, and they
Right.
it's the same thing really. So who knows? Who might contact us next?
Right. I'm sure it kind of shocked you to hear from some guy from Texas. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people that
as I say, we have heard over the years from people from all different parts of the world suddenly. So yes and no, really, it does happen.
Yes.
To my shock,
It's
but
nice, and you know, I've got over the bitterness of not being famous now. So, finally,
he would really like to be famous. I was less less worried about that.
Yeah,
Right,
I could have been Mick Hucknall.
Yeah.
Okay, right. It's at some point, yeah, you gotta. Yeah.
No, we're not bitter. Although we're all bitter. I was saying I got this idea about writing a novel about the kind of based around that kind of Manchester scene of the late 70s, which
Yes, yeah.
I'm not getting very far with. But I dug out a load of people that I knew from that period, and I interviewed this bloke called Phil Jones, who's a big tour manager, and he's John Cooper Clarke's manager.
Oh, all right.
He was back in the day, and then they had a bit of a falling out over the heroin period, and he's his manager again now. But he was really interested, and he was just saying, "Ah, you're all bitter, you Manchester lads. From those nights. You're all bitter, aren't you?" But actually, he was saying, what we were saying really, that actually, in his experience, the people that made it were just totally focused on that,
Right.
wanting that, and doing everything necessary, to do that really. And I mean,
It's a bit like the Happy Mondays. If ever there's a group that you'd think were completely disorganized, shambolic and what have you, but they were in that rehearsal room every day, weren't they?
yeah,
All the time. All the time.
yeah.
Yes, all the drugs and everything, and they're famous for that, but they were there all the time, rehearsing.
Made some good records at the
Yeah,
beginning.
but that's how they got that groove, and they got that.
Yeah.
They worked it. It doesn't happen just like magic. It was they worked and worked and worked.
Put the hours.
Had to get up, come in, do it.
So they probably didn't get up very early, but
They were there. They were there. Richard,
They never left. Right, they stayed there all night. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that determination, perseverance, hard work, hard hat, don't worry about criticism, all those things is really what you need to get there, and a bit of luck here and there.
You need a break, like someone offering you, the tour of a band with one single.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Right. Luck and timing is so important.
Yeah.
So, and to have that label behind you, like you said, promoting. That's a big.
It always feels like a good thing, to have done. I mean, obviously we're still in touch,
right?
And it's kind of a good, I mean, even bands that make it kind of huge, often say, yeah, but those early days were like, the thing.
Yeah.
When you're chugging along in your bedroom trying to write something, and then you get to the studio and you hear it coming out of the big speakers and all that sort of thing. It's that kind of that kind of excitement, which people say, you can become blasé about. We just didn't get far enough down the road to be blasé, did
we? well, that would be nice. That would be nice, if you guys, get around to it and write some new material, record some
Italian Sky, and
we've got some nice things.
Nice little songs hanging around. And we could write some new ones.
And we could do a couple of new ones too.
There you go. We'll keep that door open.
It's always open.
Okay. Well, again, I want to thank you, Martin, for sending me the track from 10 Hands High. Leads. Yeah, great guitar riff in that one.
It is a nice guitar riff.
Yeah.
We'll see what they're like live.
We'll see.
Yeah, wonder if they've rehearsed a lot.
Right.
Probably.
They seem pretty tight. They do seem like
yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, we were together for what, 87 through 88. Probably only about 2.5 years, realistically, which is a ridiculously short time to give up, isn't it? If you look at someone like Pulp, when I was in that first band, B-Vamp, then Pulp in 1980, Pulp were on the posters. When he went down to London, they were on posters down there then, and they didn't really make it for about 12 years or something. Of course, now they're national treasures. I don't like them.
They had to wait till
a couple of decent singles, and that was it for me.
Yeah. They had to wait till the timing was right again. Britpop, kicked in. Well, anyway, I want to thank you guys for taking time out and visiting with me and sharing some of those recollections. and going back in that time machine with me. You know.
Absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
Great. I really enjoyed it.
it's been great. Thank
Very
you.
good.
And yeah, keep going with the channel.
Yep.
Sounds like
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, I will.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Well,
Cheers then, Greg.
you're
Good
very
to meet you.
welcome.
You
All right.
too.
Good to meet both of you. Thanks for doing
when will this be up? Will you send us
that. Yes,
send
I
us a
will.
note or a link?
I'll send you a link to it. It'll also be on my channel, of course. So
Yeah.
that way, you know, well, both of you, maybe we'll get a little bit more exposure. You know, both of you post it individually or
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do.
and
Will
get
do.
the word out. Get the word out. All right.
Very good.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right.
Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye. Have a
Cheers.
good rest of the
Bye-bye.
day.
Bye-bye.
And bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now. All right. Bye-bye. All the best to you guys.
And
Yeah, you too.